All I can hear was screaming and crying everywhere. All around me were shadows of beings running and crying on the ground, many of them on the ground unconscious. It was adding confusion and fear into me. I didn't know what was happening, but it was scaring me. I then heard an evil laugh and saw something emerge from the shadows. It stared me down with purple eyes, and the very same evil smirk I saw from before.
Goodbye.
The being then shot a ball of purple at me, and I screamed, "Ah!" I gasped, and my eyes shot open. I breathed heavily, having to experience such a nightmare, and felt my head throbbing badly. It felt like someone was hitting me with a hammer continuously. I finally hoisted myself up off the ground and rubbed my throbbing head while I groaned. I finally managed to calm myself after having to see such a nightmare, and looked around and got a look of where I was. My new surroundings are not familiar to me at all. I didn't understand why I ended up here. I was in a lush, green forest that I couldn't recall ever being in before. Where the hell am I? Where did I go to? And more importantly, how did I get here? These questions plagued my mind. All I remembered was falling to my doom after Tom and his buddies cornered me, falling into the water when I was engulfed in light, and then suddenly, nothing. I needed to find help, and I needed to know where I was and what's going on. When I lifted myself up from the ground, I realized I still had my backpack and was holding my sword. I slung it around my back with my backpack and started to walk through the forest, trying to find help, if I ever could. Go for it. I heard the sound of a young boy screaming in the distance. I quickly ran as fast as I could to the source of the screaming. However, the task was harder than I would have liked. All of the various vegetation made it hard to locate the source of the scream. Damn! This forest is so thick, I can barely see where I'm going! The screaming continued to grow louder, and I knew I was getting closer to the location. I pushed through some of the vegetation and saw something that completely made my eyes go wide and my jaw drop. 3 wood-like wolves were circling a young boy, or pony. I think it was an anthro kind of pony. Yeah, I know what I said. For my times as a child, I was a Sonic fan. Sonic was an anthro hedgehog. How else can you explain how he has fingers, feet, and can talk? Anyways, the boy in the center of the circle was frightened, looking back and forth frantically as the creature circled him. He was a little young, probably around 8 or 9 years old. He was wearing a red and white striped shirt and jeans. He had white fur with a few brown spots on him, and had a brown mane and tail. He had a lot of cuts and bruises on his arms and face. One of the wood wolves howled and jumped into the air, leaping for the young boy. As the beast closed in, the boy screamed and cowered in fear of it. From that, something in my body and mind clicked, telling to fight. Before I knew what I was doing, I quickly unsheathed my sword and jumped into action. I gave the creature leaping towards the boy a hard kick in the side, knocking it to the ground and leaving it stunned. I quickly got between the boy and the creatures and got into my battle stance. You bark breaths want to get to this boy? You gotta get through me! I shouted with will and determination as I stood in a defensive stance. My grandfather's words played through my mind yet again. The wood wolf I had originally knocked down got up and snarled at me. It quickly leaped at me, but I did a horizontal slash, causing it to split apart with ease. As the individual pieces of the beast fell on either side of me, I was sprayed by a little bit of sap-like blood. The other 2 wolves were unfazed and let out howls of their own, and charged at me with open mouths, trying to bite me. I gave the one on my left a hard, stunning kick, and another slash with my sword, with the other one on my right. The one I kicked was knocked back, whimpering in pain, while the one I slashed was now dead thanks to the well-aimed slash across its neck. I looked back at the remaining wolf that was alive and snarled at it. It was scared of me now, that its fellow wolves were dead around it, and it retreated back into the forest. I sighed and sheathed my sword, tried to wipe the sap-like blood off of me, but it was useless. With that plan being a failure, the next thing I was concerned about was the boy. I turned and saw he passed out, either from his wounds or out of fear, when the first wolf had tried to attack him. I walked over to him and gently picked up my arms. I placed 2 fingers on the side of his throat to check his pulse. He was still alive, but his breathing was very shallow. I need to find help, and fast. I refused to let him die. My brain was still spinning that I just saved an anthropony from 3 wood-like wolves, even though I didn't want to believe it. I was probably in a different world. Yeah, you heard me. A different world. Only sensible explanation I could come up with under the current circumstances. Damn, I'm reading too fast. As I continued walking through the forest, I heard the sounds of the boy starting to wake up. He looked at me with a frightful expression and asked,
Who are you?
Whoa, he sounds so scared. I better sound as nice and gentle as I can. I gently smiled at him and answered, Don't worry, you're safe with me. I promise I won't hurt you. Hopefully, he'll go with it and doesn't see me as a threat, because the last thing I need from him is to scream and run deeper into the forest and get killed to God knows what's in there. I could tell he was still a little unsure about me, probably because he never saw anything like me before, and due to what he had just experienced. He then asked me again,
You promise you won't hurt me?
I can tell he's calming down a little, but still wanted to be sure I wasn't a threat. I promise with my life, I answered him. What's your name, little guy? Since I knew we'll be walking through this forest for a while, I should at least know who he is. He gulped a little, as if trying to gain some extra courage, and said,
Pipsqueak.
I couldn't help but chuckle a little at his name. It was rather unusual that his name was Pipsqueak, but I had a hunch he was called that for a reason. I looked back at him and smiled, and said, It's nice to meet you, Pipsqueak. My name is Daniel Blaze. He was starting to get more comfortable around me, as I started to relax.
It's good to meet you too, Daniel.
I gave him a warm smile and said, You as well. Now, try to get some rest. I'll find the nearest town and try to find some help. Hopefully soon, because his condition is looking a little bit more worse by the minute. He gave me a soft nod and nuzzled into my chest before falling asleep. I heard the faint sounds of snoring while he was sleeping. I couldn't help but smile while my heart exploded by how cute he was at that moment. Yeah, I have a soft spot when it comes to cute creatures. I continued to walk through the forest until I came across a clearing. About fucking time! As I started to walk out of the forest, the sun's rays hit my eyes, causing me to shut them tightly from the sudden change of brightness. When my eyes were able to adjust, I opened them and looked at my surroundings with awe. It looked so peaceful, so green and very beautiful. It was an open field with a few patches of flowers here and there. It felt like this came out of a fantasy storybook. As much as I wanted to enjoy more of the scenery, I still needed to find help for Pipsqueak and for myself. Looking around, I saw a little town over the horizon of the hills, not too far from me. I began walking through the meadows towards it and eventually came across a sign. Welcome to Ponyville, population 613, home of the bearers of the elements of harmony. With this, everyone, we'll be transferring narration over to my good friend Mason.
Yes. All right. Ponyville, elements of harmony. This all sounds like it came out of a 5-year-old girl's book. But even so, this was the best I could do for help unless I wanted to wander for who knows how much longer. I cautiously started walking the past sign. Sorry, my bad.
Wow.
I cautiously started walking.
Watch the grammar
sign.
Nazis get out on us now.
Oh god. I cautiously started walking past the sign and into the town. I saw many ponies wearing different clothing, with different colored manes, tails, and some of them even had horns and wings. The last thing I saw on them were different tattoos that each seemed to have on their arms. This was a little weird to see different creatures other than humans. I haven't seen one human since I arrived here, but only because I just arrived to this town. Hopefully, I see my own species soon. As I entered the town to find a hospital or some other form of help, many of the ponies began eyeing me. Some were whispering to others, a few backing away from me. Some were even frightened of me. I couldn't blame them, since they probably never saw me before. But I was a little concerned because they saw me holding Pipsqueak in my arms along with the sap like blood on my face. Before I could open my mouth to ask for help, a rainbow blur hit me out of nowhere. making me drop Pipsqueak and collide with a wall of a nearby building. Holy mother of fuck, that hurt! Ugh. I groaned while I was getting up, feeling like a train had hit me. I had a few bruises on my arm from the impact. It was hurting like hell, but nothing big.
Stay away from him, you foul creature!
Shouted a tomboyish voice. I looked up and saw a cyan-furred girl with wings, a rainbow mane and tail, wearing a white tank top and short blue jeans, and had rosy eyes. I growled and shouted at her, "Don't you know ramming into others is rude?" And I wasn't going to hurt him. I was looking for help.
Huh?
She looked at me with surprise, but then said,
So, you can talk. However, it's a likely story to believe some foul creature like you to carry a hair coat. You're gonna wish you never came here!
She shouted back at me while cracking her knuckles. She sounded serious, and I knew what was going to happen now. I guess I had no choice but to fight. I had the disadvantage since she could fly, and I couldn't give her more maneuverability. However, I had a weapon with me. But I didn't want to hurt her. I dropped my sword and backpack and got into my fighting stance.
Narration will now turn over to me. I looked up at the cyan girl and said, "Let's dance, Skittles." Since she looked like the rainbow, I couldn't help but call her that. What? She has a rainbow mane, for crying out loud. She growled at me and charged at high speeds with the use of her wings and punched me in the face with great force before I could pull up a block. God damn it, this girl's strong. She's really fast, I'll give her that. I quickly recovered and switched to a more defensive stance. I need to be careful with her having speed like that. She charged at me again, threw another punch, but being ready this time, I managed to dodge the attack and return one of my own. She stumbled back a little, holding her nose in pain as a little blood began to drip from it. She saw the blood, and her gaze seemed to harden. She then quickly growled out,
"All right, you want to do this the hard way? We'll do this the hard way."
She charged again and pulled off a few kicks and chops, but I was still on the defensive and was ready for them. I knew from the moment she knew karate, and I'll say, she's good. She's probably a black belt or one level. However, I knew MMA. Once I had the chance, I threw her a punch, but she easily caught it. She returned a punch of her own, and it was so strong, it actually made me fly off my feet. I fell to the ground with a hard thump. Alright, I'll give her this. She's really good. I raised my head and placed my hand on my chest where the punch had landed, but instead of feeling the bruise, I realized my pendant was gone. Quickly looked around to try and find it when I saw it not too far from me. I quickly crawled towards it to grab it, and I started reaching for it, but then... No. This can't be happening. A cyan hoof came down and crushed my pendants. I went wide-eyed, and I felt tears forming. The pendant was all I had left of my mother, and she just crushed it. I looked up at her, and she said,
"You're gonna wish you never messed with the greatest flyer in Equestria."
My anger started to boil, and my teeth started to grind in pure anger. I rose up quickly, ignoring all the pain in my body, and roared, "You bastard! You just made the biggest mistake of your life, girl. No one, and I mean no one, breaks my pendant and gets away with it!" I threw a powerful punch at her face that was just too fast for her, which caught her by surprise as she stumbled back from the hit. I quickly followed at high speeds and threw as many punches and kicks as possible. I roared again as I continued my unrelenting onslaught of pain. But I had had enough of this. It was time for me to finish this. I jabbed my punches into the vulnerable spots of her body, such as the chest and arms. However, I not only targeted those areas, but certain nerves that would leave her paralyzed for a short time. I had studied those very weak points with my grandfather when we had trained together. She gasped and collapsed on the ground, now paralyzed and unable to continue the fight. I stood there, panting heavily since I had just used up a lot of my energy. My anger towards her was lowered, but remained within me. Suddenly, a rope lashed under my hand and started pulling me. Gah! What the hell? I turned and saw 5 more ponies. The one that was holding me by the rope had orange fur, was wearing a button-up brown shirt, a cowboy hat, and short jeans. She had rage in her emerald eyes. The one beside her was lavender eyes as well. She wore a white shirt, a purple skirt, and a horn. There was another pony with a horn as well, but she was white, wore a white dress with a pearl necklace, and had blue eyes. The fourth girl was pink and had dark pink hair, wore a white shirt with light blue streaks, and a short white skirt. The final girl had yellow skin, light pink hair that fell to her waist, wore a yellow sweater with jeans, and had blue eyes as well.
Stay away from Rainbow, you varmint!
Well played, Mason. Orange Pony shouted in an old western voice, tugging a little on the rope in her grasp. I growled at her, started pulling back while I shouted, "Get the fuck away from me!" Great. Now I have to deal with these girls as well. I quickly grabbed my sword with my free hand and threw the sheath off of it. I raised the blade in the air and sliced the rope in half. The rope cut easily, and the orange girl stumbled back a little as all of her force was pulling on the rope no longer had any tension. The lavender girl caught her and asked, "You okay, Applejack?" So that's the name of the orange girl. And if I recall, the cyan girl is named Rainbow.
I'm okay, Twilight.
She said to the laughing girl.
You gonna go? Gonna keep going?
I was coughing, actually.
Oh.
People who are listening are going to love how we're making some small mistakes, so might as well get the coughs out of the way. These girls have unusual names. Twilight, if that's her name, looked back at me and shouted with a growl, "How dare you come to our town and cause havoc!" As the last of her words came out, I saw her horn charge the lavender aura. I quickly got my sword up in front of me as I got into my battle stance. I then shouted, "Your pathetic friend attacked me first! I never meant any harm until she pushed me off the edge!" However, my words fell deaf to her ears, and she was more pissed off. She growled again, and shot a lavender beam at me from her horn. I pulled out my sword in an attempt to block it. Surprisingly, my sword reflected the attack. Twilight dodged to the side as her own beam flew back at her while Applejack charged at me and threw me a powerful kick to the face. The impact cracked my nose and caused it to bleed. Dear God, this girl's stronger than Rainbow. I flew off my feet again and landed on the ground. The bloody nose and the worst pain I had felt far up my face. I dropped my sword when I made contact with the ground again. Couldn't believe I was getting my ass handed to a bunch of girls. I quickly got up from the ground and looked at the girls and growled. I was completely bruised, tired, and weak. I needed to get out of here before things got worse. I quickly looked for my sword, which had ended up next to Rainbow. I already lost my pendant. I refused to lose my grandfather's sword. I ran up and grabbed my sword, but then Rainbow grabbed my hand while getting up from the ground and said, "You won't beat me that easily." I was stunned that she was already up on her feet. She was no longer paralyzed. How the hell did she recover so quickly? That is so unbelievable. She flew into the air with me in tow and started spinning at high speeds, making me dizzy. Fuck. Felt like I was gonna puke. She finally let go and I was sent flying into the ground at high speeds, making a small impression from the impact. Oh, fuck. Everything hurts again. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get out now or I'd be dead. Using whatever strength I had left, lifted myself up off the ground and picked up my grandfather's sword, and grabbed my bag. I weakly looked back at the girls and pointed a weary finger at them and shouted, "I'll remember this, you fucking assholes!" I then ran out of the town as fast as I could, in my current state, leaving my broken pendant behind. I couldn't believe I left it behind. It was all I had left of my mother. I felt anger and sadness wash over me as I continued running, and I finally ran back into the forest. Off towards Mason.
Oh. Oh. Just gonna say this. Not very nice.
Not very nice at all, right? If I recall correctly, this is your first time reading this story, isn't it, Mason?
Yeah.
Well, everyone, as you all can tell, we're not professional readers, but we definitely try to have fun.
Yeah. At least. In any case. Alright, so we're going from Twilight's point of view now.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, we will have female voice actors coming up in the next few chapters. Right now, we're kind of stuck.
We're improvising.
Yeah!
Alright. We watched the creature run back into the Everfree forest, where it belongs. But I still couldn't shake off what it was. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. It was also intelligent, knew how to fight, and was strong. No pony was able to last that long against Rainbow Dash. After that, I thought I realized Rainbow was hurt. After
You just
that,
brutalize every sentence you can, can't you, Mason?
Yes, I definitely do. After that thought, I realized Rainbow was hurt, and me and my friends ran up to her. She started getting up a little weakly, while a little blood leaked from her nose and face.
Rainbow, you okay?
I asked her in worry. I quickly began giving her a once-over, making sure... What the fuck is a once-over?
It means he's looking her over, making sure she's okay.
I quickly began giving her a once-over, making sure there were no clear signs of serious wounds. She looked up at me and smiled.
I'm all right, Twilight. It'll take more than a little beating to take this Pegasus down.
She wiped the last of the blood off of her and rubbed her sore head a little. What?
I returned her smile. Always trying to act tough as usual. I'm just glad she's okay.
Random switch.
We're gonna have to switch because you're brutalizing it.
I'm sorry. It freaked... These words do not mix together for me.
So I will help you with that. I'll do the narrations if you help with the voices, okay?
I haven't read this much.
Alright, this is Rarity.
Girls, have a look at this.
Turned and saw Rarity levitating what looked like some kind of pendant? It was made of gold, encrusted with a diamond in the center. It was a little beat up and shattered. Me and the girls walked up to her, and we all got a better look at the pendant. What is it? Binky asked, looking at the pendant.
I'm not entirely sure, but it appears to be a pendant of some sort.
She opened it and revealed a picture of what appeared to be a young male creature of some kind, and a female creature of the same strange species next to him. The boy was smiling. It looked like he was laughing while hugging the female creature. The female had sapphire eyes like him, had blonde hair, and wore a light blue dress. On closer inspection of the male creature, I noticed it seemed to have many similarities with the creature we just chased off.
Do you think it belongs to the creature that we shoot off?
Me. I believe so. Otherwise, it would never explain why he looks like the creatures in the picture, I explained.
Who do you think this girl is?
He asked. I don't know, but I got a hunch this boy knows her, I suggested. Girls, I turned and saw Fluttershy carrying Pipsqueak, who was unconscious in her arms. We have to take Pipsqueak to the hospital. Pipsqueak laid in her arms, still out cold, but still breathing. Fluttershy had a point. Pipsqueak was pretty beat up. We all got up and ran for the hospital, but my mind was still drifting around this strange new creature. We were all sitting in the waiting room, waiting for news about Pipsqueak, but my mind was still focused on something else. I needed to know more about this creature that came to Ponyville, but the question is, how? The door suddenly opened, and we saw Dr. Hooves walk out with a clipboard in his hands. All of us quickly got up and walked up to him, fearing the worst. How is he? I asked him. He looked up at us from the clipboard in his hands and smiled. Knowing his smile, I assumed he had good news about him.
Pipsqueak will be fine. Other than being in a little bit of shock, just a few scratches and bruises. He'll be up and about in the morning.
He explained to all of us. Thanks, Celestia. We all sighed in relief, knowing he was going to be okay. Can we see him? I asked.
Of course. Follow me.
After a short walk, we all walked through a door and entered Pipsqueak's room. He had few IVs in his arms to put fluids in his body, but other than that, he looked perfectly fine.
I'll leave you all alone to rest. I'll leave you all alone for a bit, but he needs rest.
Dr. Hooves told us. We all nodded and he left the room. We all walked up to him and smiled, surrounding his bed. Pipsqueak opened his eyes slowly and looked up at us and said,
What? Where am I?
"You're in the hospital. We brought you after we took care of a few things," I explained to him. He smiled a little, but then he looked around in confusion before asking,
Where's Daniel?
"Who's Daniel? All we know is a creature was carrying you and we drove a sorry butt out of Ponyville," Rainbow said proudly. I saw Pipsqueak's eyes widen before he asked,
Was he wearing black clothing? Had black hair and blue eyes?
Rainbow simply answered, "Yep, and you should have seen it when..."
What were you all thinking?
He shouted at us while sitting up more, making us step back in complete surprise. "Shadic, what are you talking about? We saved you from him," Applejack said, not understanding why he was raising his voice. Something was telling me the girls and I messed up.
God, no, you got it all wrong. He was trying to help me, and he saved my life.
Pipsqueak shouted, waving his arms around in frustration. This Daniel character saved Pipsqueak? Me and the girls stood there wide-eyed by what he had told us. Nothing but confusion in our minds. I then asked, "What do you mean?" Pipsqueak sighed and explained.
I was playing with my ball in the meadow outside of Ponyville, but it rolled off into the everfree forest. I ran after it, but then I got lost. Then 3 timber wolves came out of the darkness and attacked me. I thought I was done for, but then Daniel, the creature you all chased away, saved me, and he was bringing me to Ponyville for help.
I couldn't believe what I just heard. This creature, the very same that we drove off, was only looking for help, and he saved Pipsqueak's life. I felt guilt hit my heart, my actions for what I did, for the way we all treated it.
Mind if I do this?
Go ahead.
If I remember correctly, it was Rainbow that attacked the critter first.
Oh, the blame! Applejack said, looking at Rainbow. I looked at her as well and glared at her and said, "Explain why?" I didn't know. I thought he was gonna hurt him," Rainbow answered, her ears hanging along the sides of her head.
Yeah, he saved my life, and this is how you all repay him? You all need to find him and apologize to him.
Pipsqueak said, folding his arms and giving them all a stern look. Look at Pipsqueak! He did make a good point. After what we did, we owed him an apology for what we did to him. He never deserved to get hurt by us, and for the big misunderstanding. I turned to the girls and said, "He's right, girls. We have to apologize to him. He didn't deserve this." They all nodded in agreement, and we all quickly said our goodbyes to Pipsqueak and left him to get some rest. Once we left the hospital, we all ran for the Everfree, hoping we didn't lose him yet. "Rainbow, look from the skies and try to find him," I said to her. "On it!" She took off at high speed as we ran into the forest. I just hope this creature can forgive us for what we did. Alright. Now, narration will be done by you, because I know from this point onward there's not much of a grammar problem.
Alright. Let's do this.
Let's do this!
Alright. I was lucky that I was able to retrieve my sword, but I lost my mother's pendant. I was still pissed at the girls that attacked me. I didn't do anything wrong. I was only trying to find help for me and Pipsqueak. And yet, they just attacked me like I was some kind of wild animal that wanted to eat them. The way Rainbow attacked me, and the way she destroyed my pendant, everything around me just shattered. I felt truly alone, abandoned, and shattered. I continued to walk through the forest, feeling the cool air hit my face. I didn't know what to do anymore. I couldn't go home because I was brought to some fucking new planet. I don't have anything else, other than my grandfather's sword, my backpack, my iPhone, my laptop, and very little food and water. I had nowhere to go. I was on my own now. Eventually, after some time walking around, I found a clearing, a small, empty valley. It looked as beautiful as the wide-open meadow I recently came across when I was carrying Pipsqueak in my arms. Even though I didn't know him for a long time, he seemed like a good kid. I I gave a tired sigh and decided to rest for a little bit.
Alright, for those of you who are listening, from this point onward, I will be taking over the narration because his character is coming in. Mason's character that he auditioned for, he's going to be able to portray right now. So, wish him luck. I sat down on a rock and placed my sword down with my bag on the lush green grass. I took out my iPhone and decided to listen to some soft music to calm myself. I placed my earbuds in and played a soft song. The soft, smooth beat of the piano, and the sound of a violin rose into my ears, soothing any of my stress or anger. I was glad I was alone. I didn't want anyone with me for the time being. I shifted my head toward the valley and saw something shining on the ground. With my curiosity getting the best of me, I stood up and grabbed my sword. I walked over to the source of light and started digging a little around it. My eyes widened when I saw a large ruby in the shape of a heart was in front of my eyes. Who would leave a ruby in the middle of a valley? This was incredible. I'm freaking rich, baby! But as much as I wanted to keep this ruby to make some easy money, this gem might belong to someone. My mother once taught me to never take valuable items and to always return them to their owners. I decided to keep the ruby with me until I found its owner. I placed the gem in my bag and went back to my seat down in the grass, next to my bag. The rock was making it too uncomfortable for me, and the soft ground was better. I laid down on the soft grass, and my face was met with a lizard face. I stood there wide-eyed. The lizard went wide-eyed as well. The two of us stood silent for a second until I broke the dam. Ah! I screamed as I shot up from the ground and ran behind a boulder not too far from me. I placed my hand over my heart, feeling it beat rapidly by the sudden surprise of the face of the lizard. I didn't know what to do now. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a teenager boy from behind the boulder.
Hello? Hey, you don't need to be scared of me. I'm not gonna hurt you.
His voice calmed me a little, but I was still freaking out like hell. I gripped my sword tightly as I slowly peeked behind the boulder. The lizard I saw was pretty big, around as high as up to my abdomen. He had green dagger eyes, had purple scales, a tail, green spines from his back, and had a yellow underbelly. He was wearing clothes, of course, but I could tell he had a yellow underbelly since I could see it going down his tail. He was wearing a green t-shirt, a purple sweatshirt, and short jeans. He looked like to be around 13 or 14 in my mind. The lizard smiled at me and said calmly,
You can come out now. I won't hurt you. Promise.
I still had my sword gripped tightly in my hand, but I slowly walked out from my hiding place, slowly walked out to the lizard boy. He smiled again and said,
There? Now I can see you. My name's Spike. What's yours?
I was finally able to swallow and greeted, Daniel. Daniel Blaze.
On.
Cygnus.
Yeah.
I know, we're both dealing with it, you know.
Sweet name. It's good to meet you, Daniel. Are you new around here?
He asked. I guess you can say that, I replied dryly, not wanting to remember my warm welcome to this crazy world.
Cool. By the way, I've never seen any pony like you before. Are you some kind of furless pony?
Spike asked when he was circling me. Did he call me a furless pony? I guess this is his first time seeing a human. Probably. I simply shook my head and answered, No, I'm not a furless pony. I'm known as a human. By then, he jumped back in surprise.
You're really a human?
I arched a brow by a sudden outburst. He knows about my race? I then answered, Yeah, I'm a homo sapien, or human in your words.
I don't believe this. Humans are supposed to be a ponytail.
Spike responded with his shocked face still glued to his head. I arched a brow again and asked, What do you mean by ponytail? Spike said.
Well, a pony named Lyra Heartstrings has been studying about humans ever since she was a filly. We all didn't believe humans existed because we thought they were made up, not real.
Not real? Made up? This was a lot to take in for me. He's saying that humans don't exist in this world and are just some made-up creature. But now it has one. Me. looked up at Spike and said, "Well, from where I'm from, talking anthroponies and lizards don't exist and are thought to be just some fairy tale."
Hey, I'm not a lizard. I'm a dragon.
Spike retorted. "What? He's a fucking dragon? Oh my god." I couldn't believe dragons existed in this world. This is now a lot more to take in. First talking anthroponies, now dragons? What's next, a hydra?
Dude, you okay? Yeah, you look pale.
Spike said, sounding a little worried. I snapped back into reality and looked at Spike, then said, "Yeah, I'm fine. This is just a lot to take in. First I was engulfed in light, now I'm in a world filled with talking anthroponies and dragons?"
Dragons don't exist where you're from.
Spike asked. I shook my head and answered, "No, not really. Dragons from my world are supposed to be just legends, made up majestic creatures. Even though they're not real, many of my people look up to them and see them as legendary, powerful creatures."
Wow, that's cool.
Spike said.
You mentioned you got sent here because of some light?
I nodded. "Yeah, I was walking along a beach one night and I was then engulfed in light, tearing me away from my home. I didn't want to go too far to tell him that Tom and his friends were chasing me because I didn't like talking about it."
Whoa, dude. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Spike said, feeling bad about me. I sighed and said, It's fine. It wasn't your fault. Anyway, when I woke up, I didn't know where I was. But all I knew was that I was somehow transferred from my world into this forest. I then heard a scream in the distance. I ran for the source and found a young boy, or cult in your case, surrounded by 3 wood-like wolves. I stepped in and fought them. Finally,
Wait. You're telling me you fought against the Timberwolves?
Spike asked, interrupting me, shockingly. "That's what they're called?" "Well, yeah, I fought them. I wasn't going to stand by and let them kill them." Anyway, I killed 2 of them and the other retreated back into the forest. After that, I carried the little cult named Pipsqueak back to Ponyville for help, I explained.
You've been to Ponyville? Sweet, then you must have met Twilight.
Hold the phone! You know her! I cut him off, growling.
Yeah. She and her friends live in Ponyville. I live with her at the library. Why do you sound so upset?
Spike asked, utterly confused. I growled a little and looked at the ground, not wanting to look him in the eyes, but explained. When I got to Ponyville, many of the ponies were afraid of me. Before I could ask for help, a rainbow blur hit me out of nowhere, and I collided into a wall. I discovered it was a mare named Rainbow that attacked me. I tried to reason with her, but she didn't listen to me, so I had no choice but to defend myself. She then pushed me over the edge, and I was blinded by my rage. I went out full force on her, and I was able to defeat her in battle. I looked back up at Spike, who was wide-eyed and mouth agape.
You seriously beat Rainbow Dash?
I nodded and responded, Yeah, but after I defeated her, a rope lashed onto my arm and tugged hard. I saw Twilight and, I think her name was Applejack, and they weren't happy with me. They attacked me as well, and they soon drove me out of town. I was lucky to not take any more damage, but they still seriously wounded me, especially Rainbow. I lifted my shirt a little and showed the bruises and cuts on my body, and then showed the bruises on my face and head. Spike looked more shocked than ever. He then bellowed.
I can't believe they did that to you. You never deserved that.
He then hung his head in shame.
I'm really sorry that happened to you, man. I wish there was something I could have done.
He smiled a little and patted his head. It's all right, Spike. It wasn't your fault it happened. I then frowned and looked away. The last thing I need now is more fighting in my life. I've already suffered through so much.
What do you mean?
I realized I said too much. I sighed sadly and responded, I'm not comfortable telling you, Spike.
Oh, okay. If you don't want to talk about it, I understand.
I looked back up at him and said, Thanks. Then felt a jolt of pain running through my body. I fell at one knee. I gasped with a sudden pain going through my body. Oh, fuck my life. This hurts like hell.
Daniel, are you alright?
Spike asked, kneeling down beside me in worry. I placed my hand over my mouth and coughed violently. I saw blood gushing out my mouth, and when I released each huge cough... That's not good.
Holy Celestia, you need help!
Spike said as he tried to help me up. I spat out the blood in my mouth and grunted as I got up with severe pain, running through my body from my feet to my head. Oh, fuck. This hurts. I guess the battle results are catching up to me. Damn adrenaline, I said softly.
Hang in there, Daniel. Let's go to Ponyville.
No way in hell I'm going back there! Not after what they did to me! I shouted.
You need help. There's obviously something wrong with you. Oh,
Spike.
something wrong inside you.
Spike shouted back, but then he calmly and softly said,
I'm not gonna leave you here. As a friend, I'm helping you, whether you like it or not.
I looked at him wide-eyed. Did he just call me a friend? I felt an urge of warmth growing in my heart, my soul, and my very mind. All I could do was just look at him. He smiled at me, seeming to catch on to my surprise, and said,
You're my friend, Daniel, and I'll never leave you behind.
This feeling, having friends, it felt so warm, welcoming. This was probably what I was missing within myself. Having friends. Before I could even smile, I heard a familiar tomboyish voice.
Twilight, over here!
Oh shit, it's them again. I saw Twilight, Rainbow, Applejack, and the 3 other ponies from before coming out of the forest into the clearing. Spike! Twilight shouted. Knowing the little jerk was next to me, I didn't want him to get involved in this. I slowly pushed him away and snarled at the girls and said coldly, You all have a lot of fucking nerve coming out here to find me after what you all did to me! Twilight's eyes widened, probably from my wounds and from the blood she was seeing. I was still slightly coughing up blood. She then said, Oh no, you're bleeding. I snorted and replied, No thanks to you and your friends. Why do you care about my condition? She started walking up to me, making me feel more angry. I didn't want to be anywhere near them, not after what they did. She then said, I understand you're angry with us, but you need medical attention. Please, come back to Ponyville with us and we'll... I cut her off when I I should say unsheathed, not unstealthed. I unsheathed my sword and pointed the blades edged at her face, making her stop dead in her tracks and look wide-eyed in fear. I coldly stated, Not another step. She slowly started to back away from me, completely terrified. She deserved to be afraid of me after what she and her friends did to me.
Hey, we're trying to help you.
Applejack shouted at me, which made me shoot a death glare at her. I shouted back, Did you assholes ever give me any help when I came to your damn town? No. All I got from you all were threats, attacks, and serious injuries. I meant no harm to any of you, but you all jumped to the conclusion and threatened and attacked me. As I finished my little retort, I gave a couple more strong coughs, causing more blood to fill my mouth. We're sorry, Twilight shouted, making me look at her. You never deserved it, and you're right. We should have came to you with a better approach. You think? I shouted at them, making them flinch in fear. Rainbow then spoke.
Come on, man. You're hurt.
Shut up! I all jolted back by my sudden outburst. I gritted my teeth and growled in pure anger. You had no fucking right to attack me. I did nothing except save the young girl's life. And this is how you and the rest of you thank me? If so, then you and your pathetic race are heartless savages! The girls gasped by my choice of words. I glared deeply at them, showing no pity for any of them. Then, the white pony started walking towards me with a glare of her own. That's you.
It's you?
You're Rarity.
Yeah. How dare you call us heartless savages? You, sir, are the most disrespectful...
Back off! I shouted, cutting her off while pointing my sword at her face. She yelped and ran back to her friends. Serves her right. These ponies need to get it through their head not to mess with me. I suddenly felt another surge of pain hit me, and I grunted in pain. Damn it! This pain is starting to get to me and fast. I fell to one knee and held my mouth again. I let out another strong cough, making me cough out more blood again, making it drip from the sides of my mouth. Holy God! Make it stop!
Daniel! Daniel!
Spike shouted, running over to me. I saw the others running to me as well, but I shot them a look and shouted, "Get the hell away from me!" They all stopped dead in their tracks and looked at me in fear by my sudden outburst towards them. I glared deeply at them and again was about to shout at them once more, but Spike stepped in.
Daniel, listen. You need to let them help you. If you don't, you're injured. If you don't, your injuries will become more severe.
You can't help but laugh, can you?
I want to.
Just let it out. Just let it out first. Go ahead. All right.
If you don't, your injuries will become more severe. Please, just trust them.
I pleaded. I looked at Spike, who had pleading in his eyes. I didn't know what to do. Throughout what just happened, when I came to this crazy world, only Pipsqueak and Spike showed me kindness. But I don't know if I can build the courage to go back to that town, not after what they did to me. I'm sorry. I can't, I said, getting up weakly.
What?
Spike asked, confused. I can't trust them. I can never trust anyone ever again.
Daniel, please. My name is Speak.
Yeah, it's less funny. Speak! Spike begged. I frowned and turned my back. I'm sorry. I started walking off, but then Rainbow stopped in front of me. You're coming back to Ponyville, whether you like it or not. You're gonna have to take over for this one.
Oh, for him?
No, for her.
Oh, for her? All right.
Get
you do yours.
out of my way, I growled.
We can either do this the easy way or the hard way.
Fuck you, I growled. The girls and Spike gasped to what I said. Rainbow looked pissed. Her face was scary enough to make a puppy run home.
Wrong answer,
she said. She then elbowed me in the gut, making me shout in pain. Rainbow, stop. We don't want to hurt him, Twilight shouted.
We either bring him back nicely or we force him,
Rainbow said. I looked up and growled. You're making a mistake for messing with me. I quickly got up and started punching her in the face and gut, catching her off guard. I grabbed her by the arm and threw her over my shoulder and to her friends. Take over as Twilight.
I looked at him in shock. How could he be so strong? And still keep fighting even though he's seriously injured and hurt? What is he?
Let that be a warning to you all. You mess with me, you'll get hurt, he growled and started walking away.
I stopped him by grabbing him with magic.
The hell?
He looked back at me and then growled.
Put me down!
I'm sorry, but we're taking you back to Ponyville. I levitated him near me, but then suddenly he roared out and was freed from my magic grasp. I was shocked. He was able to break free from me so easily?
Wrong move! He charged at me, tried to punch me, but Applejack came in and kicked him in the stomach, sending him back a little. Go ahead. I'm letting you take the chance to do him.
All right.
I want to see it. I want to see if you can get
You call that a kick? You didn't put a lot of force into it like before.
All right. Now I'm going to go back to being him. You did a pretty good job as him, I tell you. You have pretty good work.
Thanks. All right. We don't want to hurt you. Just come quietly, and we won't have to be so rough, Applejack said.
Forget it!
He answered, growling, while blood was dripping from his
Imagine
mouth.
that. Imagine one of us doing that. It's a pretty sickening, ouchy sight, huh?
Yeah. Whew, okay. Applejack sighed and took out her rope and tried to lasso him. But he saw this coming, grabbed his sword and slashed it. slashing the rope into pieces.
I'm not gonna fall for that twice!
Daniel! Spike shouted. Please, let them help you.
Forget it, Spike!
He shouted. He turned back to us.
I'm gonna leave now. But heed my warning. If any of you try to find me or capture me again, I won't be so easy on any of you. Especially your rainbow friend!
He turned around and ran out of our sight. All I did was watch him run off. He didn't accept our apology, and now he doesn't trust us and doesn't want us to be near him. Smooth, Twy, Spike said with a pissed-off face. You and every pony else had to be aggressive with him. We were trying to help him. I tried helping him to understand. Did you help him at all when he came to Ponyville? No. You and the others attacked him. 'Cause you think he's a dangerous creature?
Go over so you can do Spike. My ears folded back and I frowned in shame. All my life, this was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life.
He's gone now. I don't know how long he can last out there. He's barely breathing, really hurt, and can barely put up a fight. I thought you were better than this, Twilight. I thought you and all of your friends were better than this.
He explained, growling a little.
I've had enough here. Going back to the library.
With that, he walked off, leaving us alone. I bowed my head in shame as I felt the warm wind breezing through my mane, tail, and fur. All of us were silent. Continue narration.
Me?
You want me to do
the noise?
I don't know what it is.
Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway. A day has passed since I left the meadows. I was making a very slow recovery, but my wounds were still very severe. I didn't know how much longer I can go on, but as long as I still breathe, I won't stop fighting. For the moment, I was resting up in a small tree, covered by vegetation, keeping me out of sight. It wasn't much, but at least it won't be easy to spot. I slowly took out my sword again and looked at the crystal part. Seeing my reflection just barely, I didn't even know what to do anymore. I'm stuck in a new world, with no way to get home. I can't even request my grandfather's last wish, to help others out any way I can. Grandfather, I failed, I whispered, placing the blade on my forehead.
A day has passed since this creature named Daniel left us at the meadows. I still felt bad for the way we treated him. Me and my friends were at the library thinking, I feel so awful for the way we treated him, I said sadly.
I know, but what do you mean, darling?
Wow, butchered!
What do you mean?
It's like, what? Why are you saying, what do you
but
mean?
what do you
it's like,
mean?
there's no dude.
But what do you mean?
Oh, but what do you mean?
But what
I
do you
know
mean?
what
It's
you
just a bunch
mean.
of trash.
It's like, I know what you mean, darling. I'm horrible myself. It freaks you out, huh?
First time reading something like this.
I know, but it's fun,
Nervous. Nervous, but
right?
I like
You
it.
like it? It's fun. It allows you to do a lot of voices, expand your terrain.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, darling. I feel horrible myself, Rarity added. What should we do? Fluttershy asked. I thought for a moment, thinking of a plan to trying to get him back to Ponyville, to heal him and hoping he can accept our apology. This is Applejack, go ahead.
Maybe we should find him and try to talk to him. Again.
Help him understand what...
Help him understand what we did was wrong.
Applejack suggested. Even if we try to talk to him, he will only try to run, I said. We have to think of something.
I say we...
Rainbow started, but I stopped her. We are not bringing him here by force, I said firmly.
What else can we try? We already tried talking to him and trying to help him understand, but it didn't work. Not to mention he attacked us again.
Whose fault was it for threatening him when he tried to leave? I countered. Rainbow opened her mouth, but she slowly closed it and mumbled under her breath. We sat in the room with silence flowing. Then I thought of something that might get his attention so he can talk to us. It's just like getting in the Daniel mode.
No, that's actually... I am not feeling good. Mucus.
Don't worry. I'm also dealing with mucus. We're almost done, though, so we gotta do this. We got this. I slowly opened my eyes, awakening from my unpleasant slumber. Every bit of my body was aching. Some of the bleeding from my coughing stopped. We'll start up again if I cough too hard. The only thing I can do for the moment is rest. It wasn't long until I heard someone calling out to me.
Daniel, where are you?
It was twilight, probably, looking for me. I peeked my head through the brushes of the tree and saw our friends as well, a few meters away to where I was hiding. Do they ever quit?
Darling, please come out. We just want to talk to you.
The white unicorn called out.
What happened back at Ponyville was our fault. If you want to know about Pipsqueak, he's okay. And he's really worried about you.
That almost made me come out of my hiding spot. Almost. I was worried a little about the cult, but I still didn't want to talk to them. What I did to them cannot be fixed. I slowly got up and was ready to move out, but a roar and the screams of the girls made me stop in my... It's a manticore. Get your manticore ready. Back and saw 3 large creatures. I think they're manticores, cornering the 6 near a rock. The girls were hugging each other in desperation, and the beast closed in on them. Part of me was telling me to help them, but another part was saying just to leave. I struggled to make my move, but then... Daniel. I gasped in shock, hearing the voice. It sounded so familiar. Could it be? Grandfather?
Protect them. Remember your promise.
I looked up and saw a small ball of light, just 3 feet from where I was.
Protect them.
The light faded, leaving me in my thoughts. I remembered the promise I made to him before he died. The promise to help others out any way I can. I looked back at the 6 girls who were now shaking in their fur as the manticores rose their tails, posing to strike.
Somebody help us!
That was adorable. Twilight screamed as she and her friends closed their eyes. Like that, my soul burned. I moved. I refused to let them die by the teeth of these creatures. I drew my sword and jumped out of my hiding place and slashed one of the tails of the mighty beast off, making the beast roar in pain. The girls waited for the blow to come from the manticores, but then they heard the sounds of one of the beasts roaring in pain. Twilight slowly opened her eyes, and then her eyes almost came out of her sockets. The creature that saved them was... Daniel. Daniel turned back at the girls who were now looking at him in shock, saying that he saved them from certain doom. He gave them a small smile. Don't worry. You're all safe now, he said softly. All the girls had very small blushes, except Rainbow, who was still looking at him in shock. The sound of a roar caught their attention as the 3 manticores came closer. Get to safety! I'll hold them off! Daniel said. But you're still hurt, Twilight said. Don't worry about me. I can still fight. Go while you all have the chance, he said to the main 6. The girls then got out of the way, not wanting to get into the crossfire. They hid in the bushes to witness the fight. Daniel turned back at the beasts who were ready to fight. Bring it on! Daniel shouted, gripping his sword tightly. The angry predator raised its tail and began to throw a flurry of strikes at them, with lightning speeds that made its tail appear as a blur as it attacked, all of which Daniel dodged with relative ease. The beast thought its attacks were fast enough to catch Daniel, but to Daniel, the manticore appeared to be moving in slow motion. Daniel ducked under a claw swipe and drew his sword while smashing the blade into its lion face, thus breaking its nose, causing it to roar in pain and rage. The second angry beast caught Daniel off guard as the creature lunged at him with a new burst of speed that almost rivaled Daniel's, allowing it to slash into him across the chest with its claws. The young samurai screamed in pain, causing the mares he was protecting to panic as they saw the blood running down his chest, causing Daniel to become just that much more determined to defend them. He launched himself at the manticore with such amazing speed that it caused him to disappear before everyone's very eyes, causing the enraged beast to look around in confusion for its opponents, until its attention was drawn to a voice directly above it. Screams. Daniel brought his sword down to the beast's head, creating a small dust explosion. The smoke faded, and Daniel stood there, panting a little while blood dripped from his mouth and chest. I have trained countless times with my grandfather in the past, but nothing like this, he thought himself. The manticores were a very providing challenge to the young warrior. He stepped off the now-dead beast and got back into his battle stance, waiting for one of his other opponents to make their next move. He saw that the two manticores would go for his left and right sides at the same time, while swiping at his back with its claws or tails. Daniel learned very quickly to stay clear of the manticore's tails, as he saw a purple liquid drip from their scorpion-like stingers, to which he could only guess was poison. When the manticores tried this strategy again, Daniel managed to dodge the first attack that was directed towards his left, by lunging at the manticore to his right, to which he gave 2 rapid strikes to its jaw and face, knocking it down on its side. He jumped, and landed a striking blow to the chest of the beast, making it roar in pain. The other manticore charged at him, and landed a blow to the young man, and sent him flying into a tree, making the mares cringe in pain. Daniel got off of the tree and slowly rose. His body was starting to give way again. He wasn't able to make a full recovery after the incident in Ponyville, but he knew through his heart and soul he can't stop now. He must fight to the very end. I will not give up, he said to himself as he continued his charge. Daniel leapt into the air as the charging manticore swiped at him, managing to slash at his left leg with its razor-sharp claws, causing Daniel to scream in pain. Daniel fell and his leg was bleeding. However, he fought through the pain and stood up, growling at the beasts. The main 6 were at awe at Daniel, seeing him get up again and again, no matter how much pain he's in.
My Celestia,
Rarity muttered, amazed by his heroic spirit.
Yeah, I wish I had guts like that.
Rainbow muttered, feeling slightly jealous. Daniel roared and charged at the 2 beasts while they charged at him. One rose his paw to strike, but Daniel dodged the attack and sliced the paw of the beast. The manticore roared in pain and stumbled back. Not seeing it coming, the second manticore thrust at his tail and landed a direct hit into his side, making the young warrior roar in pain. Yeah! Take over, Mason.
Alright, hold on. I gotta...
From Lucky, right here.
Alright, there we go. Okay. Holy crap, everything's blue. Alright. Lucky. Daniel pulled back quickly before the beast could inject any poison into him. Daniel charged at the beast, while the manticore rose its tail and went for another strike. But Daniel saw it coming and swung his sword, cutting the tip of the tail off, making the beast roar in pain. Distracted by its pain, Daniel jumped and struck his sword into the beast's head, making it roar in agony, and then fall to the ground, now dead. Daniel pulled his sword out of the face,
Daniel pulled his sword out.
Happened.
Face is fun.
That never happened. Daniel pulled his sword out and faced his final opponent.
1 to go,
He thought. The final manticore roared, charged, ready to finish Daniel off once and for all. Daniel charged as well, but then his eyes were sharper in color, and his pupils shrank. Then, to the mare's surprise, and manticore's, Daniel disappeared, and reappeared in front of the main 6, and simply said in a very calm voice as he sheathed his sword,
1,000 slash of the Kusanagi.
When the sound of the blade hit the sheath, the manticore roared in pain as it was engulfed in a flurry of slashes that seemed to come out of nowhere, causing it to pass out and collapse on the ground from the pain and intensity of the strikes. The mares looked at him with so much shock that Daniel actually did all that.
How did you... What are you?
Twilight asked in shock and amazement. Daniel only smiled a little and let out a small chuckle.
Just a guy who helps those in need.
He said weakly. Suddenly, his eyes went back to the way they were, and then he collapsed. With his blood pouring from his wounds, the main six gasped in horror and circled him.
Twilight, we need to get him to the hospital.
Applejack said, worry, as her and Rainbow Jack took each side.
I'm already on it, she said as her horn began to glow, as they were all engulfed in a bright light, as she teleported everyone to Ponyville Hospital. This pony needs help! Twilight screamed as all the doctors and nurses ran to them when they saw the unconscious warrior in the pony's arms. Putting him on the gurney, they wheeled Daniel off to surgery and began hooking IVs into him. Will he be alright? Fluttershy asked meekly, with pure worry and fear in her voice. I don't know, Fluttershy. I really don't know, Twilight said with fear in her voice. Beep, beep. You always wanted to do that, didn't you, Mason?
Like, just, I'm trying because my voice is like
How about this?
hurting from this high voice.
Beep.
Thank you.
Beep. I started to open my eyes.
How we are sick.
Slowly after I passed out. When they were open, I realized I wasn't in the valley anymore. I was looking at a white ceiling. I looked to my left and I was in a hospital. There were green curtains on the windows and one next to me. I looked down and saw my body was covered in a pink bedsheet. It felt so warm. I never felt so warm in all of my life. I then looked up and saw a monitor checking my heartbeat and some fluids being sent into my body from an IV. I gently rose my good hand and placed it on my face. My face was covered in bandages, along with my chest and my bad arm. At least my body wasn't hurting as much as it was before I passed out. Whoever was taking care of me knew how to handle a patient well. I realized I wasn't in my clothing, was wearing a green hospital gown. Did they seriously take my clothing off while I was sleeping? Okay, that's a total invasion of someone's privacy. My cheeks were bright crimson by the thought of them. Okay, I'm not going to go that far with what I'm thinking about right now. Well, I guess they could be worse, but probably not. I sighed and laid my head back on the soft pillow. I was going to be here for a while, so I'll just get some more sleep. Before I could shut my eyes, I heard the door open. I lifted my head and saw a nurse pony entering my room, holding a clipboard in her hands. She had light pink colored mane and tail, had sky blue colored eyes, was wearing a nurse uniform, wearing red high heels, and had a tattoo of a red plus and a few hearts on the side of it.
Nope,
Not doing this.
This is like, he doesn't want to do the female soldier voice.
Oh, thanks, Alessia, you're awake. You had us all pretty worried. We thought you would never wake up,
She said, walking towards me with her clipboard in her hands. Why were they worried about me? How long was I out for? Well, I decided on what question to go with to break the ice and asked, how long was I out for?
You were out in a coma for 2 days,
She answered. My eyes widened with pure shock. I was out for 2 whole days? Wow. No wonder why they were worried about me. I couldn't believe I was out for that long. What were they doing to me while I was out? Wait. My stuff! I quickly looked around for my backpack and my sword, but I didn't see them anywhere. I turned to the nurse and asked, Miss, where's my bag and sword?
Oh, don't worry about that. Your sword and backpack are safe with us. You'll get them as soon as you're ready to be checked out of the hospital,
she answered. I didn't know whether to threaten her to give me my stuff back, or just wait until I'm out. I wanted to get my sword and my belongings back, but something deep in me was telling me to wait patiently for the time being. I sighed in defeat and told her, all right, but I don't want any of you to look through anything, nor take what I have. Is that clear? She arched a brow at me, but then she smiled and said,
Of course, dear. Your stuff will not be touched.
I nodded and placed my head back on the pillow and let out a sigh.
The nurse then asked, "What's your name, dear?" I looked up at her and answered, "My name is Daniel Blaze." She smiled at me again and said, "That's a wonderful name. My name is Nurse Redheart, a nurse at the Ponyville hospital." I guess the reason they call her that is because of the hearts on her tattoo. I then nodded and said, "Nice to meet you as well." You know, Mason, this is the first time I'm ever doing a British accent. I just now realized I was doing a British accent. Holy fuck.
Yes.
Oh, you hear it, right?
I've done British accents before.
I've never, though. I've never. Listen to it. She then asked, "If you don't mind me asking for medical reasons, what are you? Are you some kind of furless pony?" You hear that?
Yes.
Holy shit. It took an audiobook for me to get that. Oh my god, this again. They really need to get it through their head I'm not a furless pony. I shook my head and answered, "No, I'm not a furless pony. I'm a human." She stared at me with saucer eyes. It looked like she'd seen a ghost. She stuttered, "That's impossible. Humans can't be real." "Well, you're looking at one," I replied dryly. God, this was annoying as hell. "Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I didn't mean to offend you in any way." Redheart apologized. I sighed again. Why couldn't I stay mad at these ponies? It's cool. I know how surprising it can be to meet a creature that's supposed to be a myth. "Well, I guess that's understandable," she replied with a knowing smirk. I nodded and asked, "So, what happened while I was out for the past 2 days?"
Sounds like a Southern belle.
I know!
For like 5 seconds, you started sounding like a
It's like nearing the end. It's like I can't keep a British accent. Because I know I was doing a British accent. It went away.
Hey.
It's like, no! "Well, Twilight, your friends, and mostly Pipsqueak have been visiting you from time to time, checking up on you. Pipsqueak was really worried about you when he heard you were here and not cold. He comes in here every hour to check on you," Redheart explained. I smiled a little. Pipsqueak was really worried about me. Such a good kid he is. Before I could say something, the door opened again. A small white and brown spotted colt came in, with a small bouquet of roses. I knew immediately it was Pipsqueak. Pipsqueak's eyes widened, and he dropped the flowers. Not knowing what was going to happen, he lunged at me and gave me a huge hug. The impact hurt me a little.
I was worried. I was so worried about you.
Pipsqueak cried while he nuzzled into my chest. I simply smiled and returned the embrace. The good arm and said, "Don't worry about me, little guy. I'm okay. It'll take more than just a few bruises and cuts to bring me down." Even though I was in a lot of pain, I pushed through it and kept fighting. I felt Pipsqueak nuzzling into my chest more while hugging me tightly. I couldn't blame him for being worried about me. I was the one that saved his life, and he was showing me how much he cared about me. Finally, he released the embrace and smiled at me. I smiled back and wiped any last tears he had. I was happy he was safe and was in good health. The silence was cut off when Nurse Redheart said, "Twilight and her friends are outside in the waiting room right now. Do you want me to bring them in?" Hearing about them made me frown a little. Even after what happened from before, I don't know if I can build the courage to speak to them again. Then Pipsqueak said,
Twilight and the others are really worried about you, Daniel. They really want to see you. They told me everything after they came back with you to the hospital. Please, talk to them.
I looked into his eyes for a bit and sighed. I couldn't say no to him. I looked at him and responded, "All right, I'll talk to them." I turned to Redheart and said, "Go ahead and bring them in." She nodded and left the room, closing the door behind her. I sighed and laid back on my pillow looking at the ceiling. Pipsqueak decided to break the silence by asking me,
So, how are you holding up?
I sighed and replied, "Doing all right. My body doesn't hurt as much as it used to. I'll pull through."
Good.
He said. He even added,
Look, I'm really sorry you got treated like that when you first came into Ponyville. I understand Rainbow was only trying to protect her home, me and her friends, but I agree. What she did was unacceptable. You never deserved to be beaten up like that.
He had a good point, and I was glad he and I thought alike. She would have never attacked me like that, even when I just saved Pipsqueak's life. I sighed again and replied, "Don't worry about it, Pipsqueak.
I've been used to it for a long time now.
What do you mean by that?
Pipsqueak asked. I looked at him and shook my head. It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
I understand, Daniel. If you don't want to talk about it, it's cool with me.
I looked back at the colt and smiled. Thank you, Pipsqueak. Pipsqueak also said,
I fucked up.
I mean,
That's how you know you fucked up, right? Let's restart that line. Sorry.
You're just like a can.
I'm ready to burst at any moment, right?
Yeah, I've been fucking up the entire time. Alright. Anyway. Pipsqueak also said, as you said.
I also never got the chance to thank you for saving my life. Thank you.
I smiled again and patted his head. Anytime, little buddy. Anytime. Then I heard the sound of the door opening again. I looked up and saw Twilight, Applejack, Rainbow, and the other 3 ponies from before.
Now, I'll only let you talk to him for a few minutes. He needs his rest, I heard Redheart saying to the girls. They nodded and Redheart left to the room, leaving us alone. Silence fell through the room when she left. Neither one of us spoke for the passing 30 seconds. Awkward silence!
Whoop.
Finally, Twilight broke the silence in the room and said, how are you doing? I furrowed my brows a little in sadness, looked away and replied, fine. That's good, she replied. Once more silence fell into our ears until Twilight spoke again. Listen, we're really sorry we attacked you when we came into Ponyville. We didn't know how to react to you. We just never saw anything like you before. Maybe you and your friends should have planned your approach better than to jump into conclusions and before any of you take action, I said to them with a tiny hint of anger. They all hung their heads in shame, wanting to let me know how sorry they were. What we did was wrong, and you deserve to be angry with us, Twilight softly said. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive us. I looked at them, and they all still had their heads down, waiting for my answer. I sighed. Now I couldn't stay mad at them forever. Sure, I was still pissed at them for what they did to me when I first came to this world, but they're showing me forgiveness and want a second chance. My mother even taught me to give others a second chance because everyone deserves a second chance. I sighed again and answered, all right, I'll give you all another chance. Go ahead, Pinkie Pie.
Oh, fuck.
He's like, oh fuck, my mucus.
Yay!
The pink pony rushed up to me at high speeds and gave me a bone-crushing head. Gah! Ow, 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 ow. Jesus, this girl can squeeze harder than a boa constrictor. Pinkie, you're crushing him.
Sorry.
La 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 la.
Oh, sorry. She let go of me and got off of me, smiling sheepishly. I rubbed my bad arm inside. It's cool. You didn't mean to hurt me.
We also want to thank you for saving our lives from the manticores.
She added, smiling a little. I smiled a little as well. I'm just glad neither of you are hurt. Her smile widened.
Well, I believe we should properly introduce ourselves. I turned British.
It's just like, I turned nurse red hot.
Well, I believe we should properly introduce...
Just do it, man. Just do it.
Well, I believe we should properly introduce ourselves.
Twilight said.
My name is Twilight Sparkle.
I gave her a nod, knowing her name now. I looked at Applejack when it was her turn to introduce herself.
Howdy, partner. I'm Applejack. Me and my family own a farm not too far from here called Sweet Apple Acres. We'd be delighted for you to come by and visit.
She greeted and then frowned a little and said,
I also want to apologize for kicking you in the face. I hope you can forgive me.
I love how blunt she is. I was like, you just kick someone in the face and then right afterwards, I'm sorry for kicking you. Oh, it's fine. I gave her a smile and nodded. Even after what happened from before, she apologized. Applejack smiled back, knowing I accepted her apology. Suddenly, the pink pony from before zipped up in front of my face with the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life.
Nope.
She was also speaking at high speed, so I couldn't understand her. Don't worry, I'll do it.
Hi, I'm Pinky. I want to welcome you to our town, Ponyville. Do you love parties? I love parties. Heck, who? Pinky, if that was her name, had her mouth covered by lavender oil while she bubbled on, showing no signs of stopping. She was then pulled away from me.
Twilight.
Sorry about that. Pinky loves meeting new ponies and wants to be friends with them.
Twilight explained. I let out a small chuckle. In all my years, I've never been greeted so happily before. I calmed myself and said, "It's all cool." I looked to my left and saw the yellow pony with a light pink mane and tail looking at me. I gave her a small smile, but she let out and hid behind her friend, Twilight. I had arched a brow by her actions. Did I do something wrong?
Sorry, this is Fluttershy. She's just really shy around new ponies.
Twilight explained again. Fluttershy. I like that name. I gave her a warm smile and said, "That's a very beautiful name. It's nice to meet you, Fluttershy." I heard her again, and I saw her cheeks turn bright crimson. I couldn't help but chuckle by how adorable she was. The white pony... Oh, here you go. Here's your character. The white pony then walked up to me and greeted.
Hello, darling. My name is Rarity, owner of the carousel... Oh, fuck.
It's like, how the fuck are you supposed to say that?
I hate French-sounding words.
Owner of the carousel bouquet here in Ponyville. Continue from there.
Alright, let me just do that again, because I want to conquer this. I want to conquer those freaking words. Alright, I'm retrying that.
Go ahead.
Hello, darling. My name is Rarity, owner of the carousel bouquet here in Ponyville. And I thank you for saving our lives from those vicious manticores. It was certainly brave of you to take 3 out of 1 on your own. Out of 1. I'm gonna keep that because I want to do
Smiled
that
and
shit.
nodded. I was beginning to warm up to them, since they were showing so much kindness to me. Guess they're not so bad after all. Rainbow walked up to me with a very guilty look in her eyes. She then said,
Before I go to introduce myself, I want to first apologize for my behavior when you first came to Ponyville. It was uncool of me to attack you like that. I never saw anything like you before. I thought you were going to hurt Pipsqueak, and for that, I'm sorry.
I looked at her for a few seconds, trying to either apologize to her or either turn away. This is going to be really tough for me to accept her apology. I looked at Pipsqueak and he nodded, wanting me to accept it. I sighed and then replied, "It's all cool. It was just a misunderstanding. I forgive you this one time." Rainbow smiled and said,
Thanks.
She then flew into the air and greeted.
I'm Rainbow Dash, the best and most awesome flyer in Equestria.
I smiled a little and replied, "It's good to meet you all. My name is Daniel Blaze."
Jesus Christ! Cat! Cat, what are you doing there? Sorry, here's a cat.
Shh. Just give me a second. Why'd you put Houdini in baskets?
Great to meet you, Daniel. I have a question for you. What are you? Twilight asked. Are you some kind of... If you're going to say furless pony, no, I'm not. I'm called a human. I cut her off. The girls went wide-eyed and dropped jaws. Twilight was the first to break the silence and asked, You're human? She asked in shock and a hint of excitement in her voice. I simply nodded and replied, "In the flesh." Twilight turned to Applejack and asked, "Applejack?"
He ain't like Sugar Cube. He's telling the truth.
Twilight looked at me, still in a shocked state, but then she shrieked in total excitement while bouncing up and down. "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh! I can't believe it, humans actually exist!" I was a little confused by her sudden outburst.
You might want to calm down.
I heard Applejack say. Twilight stopped bouncing around, coughing awkwardly, and blushed a little in embarrassment. She then said, "Sorry, got a little out of hand there. I just can't believe humans are real. I thought they were just an old ponytail." "Well, from where I'm from, talking anthroponies and dragons don't exist, and we're said to just be made-up creatures," I replied. Twilight gave me a huge toothy smile and said, "You have to tell me everything you know."
Easy, Twy. He just woke up. And he still needs to recover. I'm sure he can answer your questions later on.
Applejack butted in. "Oh, right. Sorry, Daniel," Twilight apologized. I smiled and shook my head. "It's all cool." I heard the door open again and Nurse Redheart walked in and said to the girls, "All right, my little ponies. Daniel here needs his rest now. You can come first thing in the morning when he's checked out of the hospital." The girls nodded and started to leave the room, but Rarity stopped for a second and told me, "This is Rarity."
I hope you don't mind, darling. I took the liberty of cleaning your clothing while you were out. I'll bring them in tomorrow. And I must say, you'll certainly have a good taste with fashion."
Thanks, I replied. She nodded with a smile and walked out of the room. Pipsqueak gave me one last hug before he headed out himself. When he came to the doorway, he turned and said,
I'll see you when I...
Just damn it, man!
Alright, you don't understand. I have so much going on around here, it's distracting.
I know. Keep going.
Alright. I'll see you when you get out, Daniel.
With that, he left, and Redheart closed the door. I sighed a little happily and lied back onto the bed after a crazy day. And after that warm welcome I got from the girls, and after the apologies, I guess everything worked out okay in the end. Even though I'm starting to like it here, I'm starting to think over either whether to stay here in this world or return back to Earth where I belong. Well, it's a little early for that. I'll come up with a conclusion later on. I slowly close my eyes and allow sleep to take hold of me. With that, everyone, this is Zero Eclipse here, who did the first chapter. With me we have...
Simpleguytheartist.
And we'd like to say thank you for listening in. If any of you who are watching our videos would like to apply, just leave a comment. Any comments or likes will really help us out. Have a good one. Say bye, Mason.
Bye. We hope to see you next time.